think I've gotten it worked out. But as usual, the view is a little different from what it was in the green room. I know. Let's see. Can we see enough of Beth's left hand? Hope so. I'm going to cue it up over here. Oh yeah. See yourself over there?
Sort of.
Yeah, that looks fine.
Okay.
Okay, there are 14 people out there already. Hello, folks.
Hi.
Hope
Happy
all is
almost
well.
Halloween.
Yep, almost Halloween. I'm wearing orange for the occasion. You're wearing orange beads for the occasion, right?
Mm-hmm. Black.
Black, that too. We're going to be playing in the key of C tonight. Hope you will be playing along with us. This is not a concert. This is a jam session. We would aim to be more entertaining than this if it were a concert, right?
We haven't learned any new jokes, so.
No, we sure haven't.
No.
And we'd be playing in more than one key, too. if this
But
were a
hope everybody
concert.
had a great summer and time off and went to all the festivals.
Yeah,
Clifftop was really good this year.
sure was.
Very crowded. Indeed.
You can say that again.
So, yeah. So, are we going to talk just a little bit about chord situations?
Just super briefly, we'll talk more after this first tune when things start to change and maybe when more people are out there with us. We're going to be playing in C this whole time. We've got a set list of tunes. Some familiar, most less familiar, I suppose, but nothing totally unmanageable, we hope. Beth is going to start out with the guitar configured for the more common way of accompanying in C, no capo, with just the standard shapes, but then that will change soon and we'll reorient everyone to what's getting ready to happen at that time. So show your main three shapes.
C, and for this tune that we're going to play first, is going to have a C, an F, a G, and an A minor in it.
Yep,
So,
that's right.
And then we'll talk about when we put the capo on, we'll be playing in the G position, so there will be some other chords there.
That's right. All right, even though this is a key of C session, the first tune that we picked really kind of orients around A minor. It's going to start on the A minor chord, and it's going to end on the A minor chord too. So get ready for that big fat A minor when we're about to be done. But I think of it really as a C tune because of the progression of the B part, and because of what else the A part does besides that A minor. And it's great on the banjo in double C tuning, bad on the banjo in A modal tuning, so believe it or not, this will fit right in to our program of C tunes.
And it's from who?
Oh, this is from Walter McNew of Kentucky. It's a special version of Lost Girl. And if you know a Lost Girl in G, you'll recognize some of the melody, but the chord progression is rather different, and the melody is a little different too.
And wasn't it recorded on the Chance McCoy?
That's right. Chance McCoy and the Appalachian String Band album. Chance was my introduction to this version of Lost Girl.
And isn't it available for download?
It ought to be out there somewhere.
So you can find a recorded, more modern recorded
That's
version.
right. I haven't heard any other modern settings besides that one. All right, let us know in the comments if you need anything. Here we go, starting on A minor, but not staying there very long. Walter McNew's Lost Girl. Pretty fun. Did you know that version already? Hope you like it, whether you already knew it or not. All right. Hi, Sue and Bruce. So glad you're out there. Was hoping you'd be tuning in. Thanks, everyone. Nice to see a lot of familiar names and faces out there. Hi, Jan from Ohio. Yay. Oh, Sue says that's her favorite version of Lost Girl.
Oh,
How about that?
that?
Hi, Steve. Steve Allerton is out there. I hope you're playing along in Double C.
I was laughing because we've still gotten to the point where if I do something wrong, his eyebrows go raising up. and I didn't do something right. It'd be up to you to figure out where I didn't do it right. But there went Adam's eyebrows. So things don't change much.
That's okay. We made it through.
Yeah.
So welcome back, if you're just tuning in now, to our online jam session series. This is the first installment of a new series, which we're aiming to take through the sort of off season here, maybe until the spring, meeting every couple months, 6 weeks, something like that. Yeah,
everything.
You know, we started this during peak COVID times, as a lot of other people were doing at that time too. And then as more live events have gotten going again, we keep hearing from people who really enjoy the online events. You know, it's nice to not have to leave your house, and not everybody out there has access to a local old-time jam. So if y'all still want these, we will keep them coming. Let us know in the comments, please.
We just finished doing something a couple of weeks ago that was just a really pleasant experience. It was Banjo Camp North's jam camp, and that's all you did. You came and you jammed, and
they brought in a lot of facilitators so that each jam would have a strong fiddle and a strong rhythm instrument, and then the campers made up the rest of those jams. They had a lot of jams every period, so none of them was very huge. It was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun. So if you're looking for something fun to do next year, hopefully they'll do it again.
We sure hope it'll become an
next
annual
year.
event.
And particularly if you're in the Northeast.
New England area should be aware of that camp. Anybody out there in the comments at Jam Camp North a couple weeks ago?
But people were telling us that was something that was difficult for a lot of people, is to find people to play tunes with, and that you had to travel far, or there just wasn't anybody in the area. And so we're kind of trying to make that opportunity.
Yep, meet that need. Kyria is out there. She was
Kyria.
at Jam Camp. Hi.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to change up what I'm doing completely.
Guitarists out there, feel free to make a similar change or not.
And
it's all good.
It's all has to do with your personal preference. And those of you who've watched these before know me, is that I go for not necessarily the official method, but the way that's the easiest on my hand.
Right. So, and C is not the easiest on your hand, especially with that F shape.
No, right? it can get really tiring. And also, the C position is really good for doing various walk downs and runs and things like that. But self-taught, if you guys are like I am, I don't know that many in C position. I know a whole lot more in G position, a whole lot more things I can do, and so that's another reason why I choose to use capo and play up here. It gets, you have to kind of get used to the shorter span that you have to work with, but what we're going to do is we're going to put the capo on the 5th fret. Adam's going to tell me if I'm in tune. He's going to fix it if I'm not. And then
there's another shape up there. Beautiful, and then minor. Love it.
Okay, so I want to go over, as long as we're taking the time, I want to go over the hand positions that we're going to use. So I play the old style, learned from Mel Bay, position of G. I play it starting with the index finger like this. So this is G.
And with the capo on, that's going to be a C chord or a 1 chord. This is why we like the number system.
Right. And then C is the 4.
4 chord, and it's actually sounding as F up there.
Yeah, and then the D is the 5.
And that's sounding as G.
Is a
up
G.
there.
And we will use about 3 other chords through the course of the evening, and one is going to be a G7.
Or C7.
Or C7. It would be
1-7.
C7. But it's,
Diagonal
we're going to use
line.
that, a G7. We're going to use an E minor, which is a 2 minor.
6 minor.
6 minor.
That's the common minor.
An E minor
And
position.
up here it's sounding as A minor, 6 minor.
And then the final thing is a 2 chord, and it's going to be in the A position.
A shape, D chord,
And a D chord.
2 chord.
2 chords.
Are you
there's
confused yet?
We'll tell you each time they're going to get ready to show up.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Any questions?
Yeah, let us know if there are questions about the guitar position or anything else chord-wise in the comments. Oh, Tony Kreidler is out there.
Hey,
He was at
Tony.
Jam Camp too. Good to
Yeah.
see you here. This is not a common position for old-time guitarists to capo, but would you believe that the bluegrassers capo up there all the time? We got to see a performance of Dan Tominski and his fine band very early this month from a very close seating situation. We were lucky. And sure enough, he was capoed way up there for anything that came up in the key of C. He didn't play open. I hear a lot of flat pickers saying they love the open position for C melodies, but this is a great way to do C. I think the old-time crowd just needs to catch on.
So let us know if you have any questions, but we just wanted to give you a heads up from the get-go.
Yeah.
And one more time, I play the A position with one finger.
Yep.
So that's what that's going to be, is an A position.
And that's only going to come up
It's only
maybe
going to be
in
one tune. One
Yeah.
tune. So, okay.
All right, first tune with capo way up there. Second tune in the program is Altamont. Figure this
Or
might be one that
Altamont.
people know. Yeah, I don't know how it's supposed
I
to
don't
be
know how
pronounced.
it's pronounced. I've
Come to
heard
think of
both,
it.
yeah.
Yep. This is from Gribble, Lusk, and York, the great black string band from Middle Tennessee, and it's a super nice tune. And if you don't know it, kind of to hear it is to know it. Here we go.
Wait. I'm sorry.
Having issues.
My hair is driving me nuts.
All
Okay,
right.
go ahead. comments particular?
Hi, Judy Moldauer.
Hey,
Yes.
Judy Moldauer.
Little Princess Footsteps is on the list. She asks about that.
Good.
I'm so glad you're there.
Good.
All right, wonderful to see everyone. Jan Douglas agrees that the C-shaped positions are hard on arthritis.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jan,
they
do you
are.
ever have occasion to play the guitar capo this high for that reason or other reasons? I like the sound up here too.
So one thing that when we were practicing for this that came across to me is that I don't profess to know any too many official runs, as it were, but there is one small run that's very easy to do and is used almost in every single one of these tunes.
Now that the capo
Now
is
that
up
the
there.
capo is on and you're playing in G position, and it's the bum 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 all on the bass string. So it's open, second,
breath.
third,
Yep.
and that gives you that the walk into so many of the different parts that we've been doing. So it's good. That's a good one if you're just now starting out with runs and you want to learn one. That one is a very useful one.
It goes all over the
Man,
place.
it goes everywhere. So.
And I'm glad you mentioned that ahead of this next tune. We're getting ready to play Farewell Trion. Kind of an odd tune, but also a pretty common one, so hopefully there are people out there who know it. This is a crooked tune. It has 3 parts. It's odd in a lot of ways. It's only got the usual 1, 4, and 5. But what's really interesting about the progression is that there's a long duration of time spent on each chord. So not just when changing from one chord to another, but when sitting on one chord, you can experiment with little runs like that. And as Beth gets the tune going, she's going to demonstrate different kinds of places to put runs like that, not necessarily en route to another chord.
Just to complement what the bow is doing. And the other thing that you're going to use quite a bit is going to be alternating bass positions, like when you're on this in the 4 is like.
That'll keep these long changes from getting boring.
That gives you a little more to add into it. But they're not difficult things to do, but they add a great deal to it. So.
All right, Farewell Trion. I understand this tune to come from James Bryan. I don't know if it's one that he collected or if maybe he wrote some or all of it. I don't know. If you know, let us know in the comments.
And there's that marvelous recording with him and Bob Carlin.
That's right. That's what really got the tune into circulation, I think. If you haven't heard Bob Carlin's fantastic banging and sawing album with this tune on there with James Bryan and a whole bunch of other great tunes with a bunch of other great fiddlers, you should go to your music retailer of choice now and get that. I bet that album's about 40 years old now and it still sounds and feels very fresh.
Bob looks just the same.
Say?
And Bob looks just
Bob
the
looks
same.
just the same. Something has never changed. Hi, Bob, if you're out there. All right, nice and slow. style Trion.
I
That's
think,
a fun one.
if I'm not mistaken, I think the guitar player on Bob's CD when he was doing that with James Brown is Norman Blake.
It sure is. The
Yeah.
guitar on all the James Brown cuts is Norman Blake.
Absolutely beautiful version of that tune.
Mm-hmm. Great. Are you liking the key of C so far? Are you liking the key of C in general? We were trying to come up with a concept for this first jam of the season, and we realized in this series we had never done C. We did a portion of a C jam for the Slow Jam Fizz series a while back, but not for our own series. Some people really love C, some people really don't love C. I wouldn't say we specialize in C, but we have a bunch of tunes
we
there
have
that we
a
like
pretty
to play.
finite list
We don't really
of
play
C
rags,
tunes, so
though.
you're getting quite a bit of them
Yep.
tonight.
If you're looking for rags, you won't find them
Yeah,
here.
we're not your people.
No.
If you're looking for rags, although we do have a rag-like tune.
We do.
Tonight.
We
yes.
do.
So.
And no surprise, that's the one with the 2 chords.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's
Okay.
play that Tie Hacker tune. This is so much fun. This is Tie Hacker number 1. I believe there are 2 different
Where's
ones.
this from?
This is from Niall Wilson. I think he was from Missouri. Really fun tune to play, though. rein in the fiddler there a little bit. Sorry about that.
I keep telling Adam, I swear, you know, sometimes you worry so much about messing up, but sometimes when you mess up, you find fun new things to do in the tune. That's happened to us more than once. Mm-hmm. That's been the case.
Yep, sometimes that happens. People are kind of liking C.
You like C?
People like C. Good.
And there's a whole lot you can do with just, you know, just taking your pressure off and on the bass string and the low E string, just to give it some punch. And walking in, so mess around with that a little bit.
Wow, Judy Moldauer has sent a great list of favorite C tunes, a couple others of which are on our list for tonight. Judy, I hope you're playing along, or I hope you'll catch the replay. Did you all know that we leave these jam videos up in my Facebook album? Some people in the comment threads this week didn't seem to realize that. They thought it was a real-time thing or else. But we leave them up because people say they like to go back and really work on tunes that caught their ear and learn them better than they can learn in real time, or this time isn't convenient for everybody too.
That's kind of the whole point, is just to give you a chance to learn, you know, to play against or to learn or whatever. Is one reason why we keep our hands up in the air, so that, you know,
that's right.
Try to behave, in my case, on the left hand. So
I haven't figured out a way to group all of our jam videos in one place. Unfortunately, I'm not sure Facebook gives such an option. So go to my photos, go to videos once you're in there, and then just scroll through the thumbnails and look for us side by side like this, or more often, look for my face up close to the camera like that as I'm struggling to find the right button to press.
You know, if we get too slick for you, you don't have to watch.
You sure don't.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
So is this the one that has the G7? I can't remember.
No, this is the one that has the minor.
No, the 2.
Oh, right, I'm doing it in the wrong order. I drew an arrow and I'm not minding my arrow. Okay, this is the one with the G7 shape, which is a 1-7.
Yeah.
And also the 2.
So you're going to have, that's the G7 and A.
Yep.
Although they translate in the key of C.
Right, C7 and D.
D. And the key
1, 7, and 2.
So you're going to have both of those chords in there. And the G7 is just to give it more texture.
Yeah, just a passing chord.
But the A is very short but very important.
That's kind of necessary. Yeah.
So
this is getting ready to be, I'm pretty excited about this one, the original East Tennessee Blues. Anyone out there familiar with East Tennessee Blues? I think of it as kind of a tired, flat-picking tune. But a former fiddle student of mine, Jim Sims, from down in Atlanta, but from East Tennessee originally, turned me on to this version of the tune, which he had just fallen in love with and could play beautifully. This is from a 1926 recording of Charlie Bowman and band, and that recording is easy to find online at places like Slippery Hill. You should go and listen now. If you're used to kind of a tacky East Tennessee blues, this is not it. He played it so elegantly, so slowly. The band was perfect. There was a piano in the band, and it's hard to imagine that that was from 1926. So the melody is a little bit different from what the tune has become. The chord progression is a little bit different as well, and there's a particular moment in the B part where it seems like it wants to hold on to a chord, but it actually goes elsewhere, and then there's another moment that seems like it should match, but it doesn't. So we'll give each other meaningful looks when that happens.
We're going to play fairly, not very fast.
Oh yeah, we'll keep it slow, kind of Charlie Bowman tempo. All right.
Sorry.
Tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky. So, just so you don't think that we never mess up.
Right.
we do. We sure
all
do.
The time.
All the time.
All the time.
So when you see Adam looking at me like this and me kind of going, don't copy that part. Go back and go further past that.
And I think I might need to look up Jim Sims for a fiddle lesson on that too. He sure played it beautifully the last time I heard him play it, and I appreciate him turning us onto this great version of
see if
kind
anybody
of
has
a
any
tired old tune in a lot of people's hands. But
I love it. I'm having a hard time doing it.
isn't it fun that
Yeah.
way? All right.
Ask Peter Adlin, are you back from Japan?
Oh, is Peter
That's
Adlin
all
there?
right.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think he might be just back
Yeah.
from Japan. All right. All right. People are enjoying. Hi, Fran. Fran Lowry.
Oh, hey, Fran.
Uh-huh.
We didn't see you this summer.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe touch up that
Okay.
tuning a little bit. Do you mind,
We're gonna-
please?
Should you?
Yeah, we're going to do Katydid next. This is one of the earliest C tunes that I learned, but I think that might have been a little bit unusual. Is Katydid a common tune to y'all out there? Let us know in the comments if it is. I didn't know anything about the tune. I just knew how it went and how I played it, but I looked up while we were getting ready for this jam and discovered that it was recorded early on by Low Stokes in Georgia in the 20s or something like that. And again, another beautiful early recording that's available there on Slippery Hill. So go and check it out if you're not familiar with this tune, or if you'd just like to put it in a little more context. This is another one that has the relative minor, and now that Beth is capoed up, that minor, the 6th minor, is going to be her E minor shape, but that'll actually sound as an A minor. It's the 6th minor.
I don't know what the temp is like where you guys are. It is October the 29th, and it was 85 here today.
Didn't get that high? That's awful.
So the instruments are not very happy. But not to fear, it's going to be a high of, I think the last time I looked, 49 on Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, here comes Katydid. And that B part starts on the minor.
On the minor.
fun to play, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that was a big hit when I was first learning.
Okay, for you too.
Yeah,
huh.
I think so.
Seems like an odd tune to have been standard at one time, but I'm glad it was. I wish it were again. All right, this is my bugaboo, and I've gone to the trouble of writing out the first few notes so that I can actually come up with them. I don't know what my problem is.
Is it because it's like another one?
Maybe, but I couldn't figure out which other one it's like. We're getting ready to do Old Melinda. This is from Missouri. This is from Bob Walters. It has 3 parts. It's a lot of fun to play. I'm not sure that I put the parts in the right order or that I start on the right part, but we'll play them in a consistent way, and hopefully you'll be able to follow along.
If I remember...
All right. If you remember.
If I remember correctly, this one is a really good tune for dances. Haven't we played this for dances in the past?
Yeah, and I think actually the form that we play is the right length for contra dances, even though it is 3 parts.
Yeah.
Eb and Liz are out there. Hi, friends. Sue says that Katydid is common for them too. Arnie Naiman teaches it. Cool. Okay, Carter Laney. Hi, Carter. Great to see you in Alabama. That was so much fun earlier this month.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
All right.
That's another, we were talking about something going on up north, but there's the most wonderful fiddlers convention in Alabama. It's always the first weekend in October.
Mark your calendars now.
And they have contests in folk song and dulcimer and
all the categories, bluegrass and old time.
Bluegrass and old time, band, banjo, and the prize money for those of you who may be like Adam was and trying to make a living off of winning prizes at one time.
That was a long time ago.
There's some really fun
prize money is incredible. Seriously, mark your calendars now. We were there in an official capacity this time, so we were not competing for the prize money, but there was a lot of it available.
And there's a lot of vendors and a lot of crafts and stuff, and they bring in like 3 nationally known acts to perform, big name bluegrass bands and stuff. It's the Tennessee Valley Fiddlers Convention in Athens, Alabama. Yep. So if y'all are looking for a good thing,
we'll
put it on your calendar for next year.
All right. Let's see if I can figure out my notes.
Old Melinda.
There we go.
Yeah.
Once I get the beginning of this tune right, the other parts will follow.
And this one uses that.
Yeah, one of the nice bass run opportunities. bad signal at first, and I wanted to make sure you didn't misunderstand the signal. But I guess I could have done it more gently.
Yeah, I think we're a little nervous tonight.
Maybe it's our first jam session back.
Yeah. So.
All right, the next one on the list might be the trickiest one. Do you think this is the trickiest one?
Possibly, because it's so different from all the rest of them.
Right.
And we got this from Aaron Marshall.
We did. Aaron Marshall plays a beautiful tune called Old Grey Goose. Mm-hmm. And my research says that it comes from Missouri again. Fred Stone King out that way was known for playing it. But I'm not sure if Aaron learned it from him. I thought I remembered Aaron describing a James Bryan connection for her with this tune. Don't quote me on that. Erin is in Australia right now, so she can't tell me if I'm right or wrong. And Carl came up with the most beautiful chords. I don't know that these are the chords the Missouri guitar players would have played behind it, but they're super cool because this is an odd tune in both melody and chords. We thought that we'd go over it.
Yeah, it's just
right?
a really beautiful tune.
It sure is pretty, isn't it? All right.
It's got the E minor.
Yeah, it'll have that relative minor again.
Okay.
All right, super slowly. A part, phrases 1 and 3. Wait a minute. Yeah, phrases 1 and 3 are the same as each other the first time around. The second time around, there's a little difference, and this is how I learned it from Aaron. It's not just me being difficult. In the B part, phrases 1 and 3 are a little different from each other, and they always will be. All right, super slowly the first time. Really pretty tune, and if you struggle to get it, don't worry, because we struggled a little bit when we first heard it, but we'll play it a few times around, and we'll not do it too terribly fast. We just love to hear this tune become more common, because it's so cool. that beautiful thing with us.
Erin has a real feel for beautiful tunes.
She does.
So does Carl, for that matter.
They both do.
Yeah.
Can I hear your D shape, please? And how's, yeah. Thank you.
Are we moving now to your favorite old-time fiddler?
That's right.
I thought
Or my
so.
favorite historical
The
one,
old-time
anyway.
fiddler, yeah.
It wouldn't be a fun jam without at least one Ed Haley tune.
That's
So
right.
we're going to do a favorite now. This is his Dunbar.
for sure.
That's pretty fun. I was enjoying all the bass string stuff you were doing on that one.
Just try to follow what you're doing there on the bow.
Well, and you wouldn't be doing the same stuff if we were down in C position.
Oh Lord, no!
Right?
My hand would be dead by now.
Yeah. So much fun up there, and longer lasting too.
What do you got? What do you guitar players think of that?
Yeah. Any guitarists out there trying the 5th fret thing? Let us know what you think in the comments if you are. All right. Thanks, everyone, for the nice feedback. Appreciate your kind words. We're going to take a thorough look through the chat later on.
Thanks for your patience, too. This is hard to get back in the saddle.
I know, it is. It is. We'll shake more of the rust off for the next one of these in a few weeks. All right, next on the list is one of those woodchuck consumption tunes. We can just leave it at that. You came up with that earlier, right?
Yeah.
This one comes from John Salyer, and it's the C one. Maybe the more common one is the one from Ed Haley over in D, and they have some elements in common, but this is just 2 parts instead of 3, and a little more stately, right? Isn't that how you like for it to go?
We wish we had someone to come consume the woodchucks in our yard. We have
That could be a
quite
good
a
thing.
woodchuck problem in our yard. So.
Yeah.
And this one, it seems to me like more and more that the Ed Haley version gets played at a pretty fast clip these days. It seems to be very popular that way. And this one is so much prettier and so much more effective if it's done more of a stately pace. They're having a dinner and aperitifs and things like that.
Yeah, something like that, along with their woodchucks.
With their woodchuck, yeah.
All right, hope you like this tune about woodchuck consumption. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We'd like to hear that one out there more often. We like the D version as well. That's
Have we
fine.
ever heard that one in a jam? I don't.
Maybe not.
I don't know that we have.
Maybe not.
But it's so pleasing.
It really is.
That particular one.
All
All right,
right.
Judy's getting her wish.
Yes.
It's your turn, Judy.
Judy Moldauer, are you still out there? We're getting ready to play one of the best titled tunes in this music, and I know it's one of Judy's favorites. It's one of my favorites too. Little Princess Footsteps. Isn't that a great title? If you don't know it, don't worry. It just goes exactly the way you expect in the A part. It's a little odder in the B part rhythmically, but it sure is fun. Do you mind touching up that tuning once more? I think the HVAC is moving us all
Even though we
around.
covered it up.
I know it. How about that?
You want to tell a joke or something?
Well, I'll give a public service announcement. We've just got a couple tunes left on our set for tonight. We will probably be doing our next one of these around the late December holiday time. Might be during the week in the hopes that people have some time off of work, but to be determined. We haven't figured out a game plan for that session. We often try to make it sort of seasonally appropriate, but we don't have to. So if you have any suggestions for what we could orient a session around, put those in the comments. That sounds much better.
A key preference?
Yeah, let us know keys that you like or that you don't like. We could do another G jam. We haven't done that much in G. I think we've only done one in A modal. I don't know if people like A modal or not.
We love it, but
we do.
But it didn't.
Not everyone does.
Didn't seem to be as popular as some things.
Not everyone does.
Yeah.
I've pinned a tip jar link pair in the comments. If you feel inspired, we thank you, and no worries if not. We do these to keep ourselves in practice, give ourselves a list to actually
Clearly,
work
we
on.
need to do more.
We need more practice, and we just like seeing you all out there in the comments.
It keeps
So,
us
thanks.
playing. It keeps our hands moving.
It does.
It really does.
Can I hear that chord some more, please? Thank you.
When you say you said the next one would be like December or something. We
late
don't
December.
plan anything around Thanksgiving.
No, it seems a little too tricky.
Yeah.
But late December, we'll see you all again. But in the meantime, a couple more tunes. Little Princess Footsteps from down in Mississippi.
much as
You
you
know,
used to.
it's kind of fallen out of my regular teaching rotation. It used to be a required banjo tune for my students. Required, because of the syncopated rhythm in that B part. But I found some other teaching tunes that are good for syncopation too. I should bring that back in, though.
I've heard it
it's just
a
too
million,
much fun.
zillion times through the door.
You have, but not lately.
Not lately.
Not lately.
No.
All right, shall we do our last number?
Yeah.
I think of this one as like a circus tune.
Yeah,
Does it sound circus-like or
kinda like a
calliope-like to
calliope,
you?
yeah, sorta, kinda.
This is going to be Wes Muir's tune. Super fun to play.
Is
This is
that
another
from
one
Niall-
from Niall Wilson of Missouri. Go
about
figure. We hope you've enjoyed playing along. I hope you have been playing along and not just listening to this non-concert. Seriously.
And we really do appreciate comments and ideas and things like that. So
Yep, spill your guts in the comments. We will read them all, and we will learn from them.
Oh, and I think we forgot in the early part to give our usual disclaimer, but
yes.
this is the way that we play this. This is what we like to do. These are the chords we like.
For all of these tunes.
For all of these tunes, it's what we've come up with, or that we've been taught by, say, like on Old Grey Goose by Carl Jones taught us the chords for those, that particular tune. But we're not necessarily saying it's the definitive way to do it.
Definitely not.
So,
this is not the way that these tunes go. This is a way that these tunes can go, and it's the way that we like to play them. So take that for whatever it's worth.
And if you hear it differently, then play it differently. And
Absolutely.
Add your own touches to it.
Absolutely. And the next time we're all in the same space and you're leading one of these tunes in the jam, we'll follow your way.
you. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Wes Muir's tune. And then we're going to get ready to watch The Return of the Gilded Age on TV.
9 p.m.
That's right. it is.
Wes
Muir's tune. Ready to ride the carousel now, or something? Does it
Yeah.
bring that to mind?
Yeah, we can't ride elephants anymore.
No.
No.
Oh well.
Absolutely.
Thanks all for joining
Let's
us.
see if anybody had any questions.
Let's see if there's
or
anything we need to
comments or
respond
anything.
to in real time.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for the nice
We
thoughts.
sure appreciate you coming out and being here in virtual reality with us.
Absolutely. Some people are suggesting keys and themes. That's
Good.
great.
Good.
Great.
Good.
Some people are liking the idea of amodal. How about that?
Oh my goodness.
How about that?
And we can do 2 different keys.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't have to do just one.
that's true. If we did some amodal and paired it with another key, what do you think? Maybe not a retune on the fiddle. We could do some amodal and some G. We could do some amodal and some D. Let us know your thoughts.
Calico.
Calico. I don't have a lot of calico tunes, but that could be kind
Could
of
a
fun.
partial.
Yeah, we could mix that with ordinary cross A.
There you go.
We have some thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, send us more of yours.
We appreciate your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
I hope you'll keep joining us for another round of online old time jams.
Yep.
Yep.
And we hope everybody has a happy fun Halloween.
Right, first things first.
And-
They've already got Christmas stuff in all the stores,
no.
and it's not even quite
No.
Halloween yet.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. Happy all around. Good to see everyone.
All
See you
right.
again
Good
soon.
night.
Cheers.